Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I'm going to break the fourth wall right out of the gate here and speak directly to you. Because, listen, if you're watching this, there's a really good chance you're currently nursing a pretty fresh wound. You took a risk, right? Maybe you went out on a limb and applied for that absolute dream job, or you confessed your feelings to someone you deeply care about, or maybe you pitched a massive business proposal or sent off a huge academic application. And instead of that big triumph you pictured, you were met with a slammed door. You're sitting there right now in what feels like the darkest plot point of your personal story, literally feeling like the whole narrative just derailed. But what if I told you that this setback isn't the end of your story? What if it's the exact catalyst you need for your greatest chapter yet? So, you just heard the word no. Ouch. Let's just be completely real for a second and acknowledge the immediate, profound sting of that reality. Rejection is, without a doubt, one of the most intensely painful experiences we humans go through. It leaves emotional wounds that are incredibly tough to heal. It can make you question, well, basically everything: your worth, your abilities, your entire future. And a lot of people instantly interpret this rejection as a definitive, final failure. And that just leads to discouragement, bitterness, or this paralyzing fear of ever putting yourself out there again. But today, we're going to look at a totally different framework. Okay, let's really dive into this. Why on earth does this hurt quite so much? Well, because as human beings, we naturally desire acceptance, love, and validation. It's in our DNA. So when we're denied those things, our immediate response is this messy cocktail of difficult emotions: disappointment, sadness, anger, maybe a ton of embarrassment. And you know what a lot of people do? They try to just pretend the pain doesn't exist. They put on a brave face, plaster on a smile, and bury it. But listen, suppressing these raw emotions actually makes the pain significantly worse. You literally cannot skip past the hurt if you want to authentically grow from it. All right, so our first phase here is actually pretty linear. Step 1, you have to acknowledge the hurt. Don't hide from it. Step 2, actively process that emotion. If you need to cry, cry. Talk to your trusted friends. Pray. Write it all down in a journal, or just sit quietly and reflect. And step 3, give yourself actual time to heal emotionally. I really need you to hear this. Accepting this pain and working through these steps does not mean you're weak. Actually, scratch that. It's the exact opposite. Facing these emotions head on is a profound display of emotional maturity and total honesty. And this brilliantly illustrates our next vital step. We've got to totally flip our perspective. Most of us view rejection as this brutal, deeply personal attack on our inherent worth, kind of like arrows piercing our armor, right? But the reality is actually quite different. Rejection is incredibly often just an issue of timing, circumstances, and compatibility. For example, if you failed a job interview, it rarely means you aren't smart or capable. Usually, it just means another candidate's highly specific experience happened to better match what the company needed right then. Or if a relationship ends, it often just means two people simply weren't meant for each other. Shifting to this mindset is absolutely crucial so we don't destroy our self-esteem over situations that just don't reflect our true value. Now, once you separate your actual self-worth from the situation, you unlock this massive opportunity for self-discovery. It's like a hidden door. Every single rejection carries a hidden lesson. The problem is, most people stay stuck because they keep asking themselves this bitter, unhelpful question: why did this happen to me? We need to completely replace that with a much more empowering question: what can I learn from this? Asking the specific question completely transforms the rejection. It literally takes it from being this heavy anchor dragging you down and turns it into a highly effective tool for your personal growth. Let's break down exactly how this fuels your growth. First off, it exposes weaknesses that honestly might actually need a little improvement. An entrepreneur whose business plan gets declined might suddenly spot the glaring gaps in their strategy. Second, it pushes you out of comfortable routines. We get way too comfortable with our default plans, right? And we fail to explore other, potentially way better opportunities. And third, it forces a pause for self-reflection. Sometimes rejection reveals that you were just chasing a career because society expected it of you, not because it actually aligned with your genuine passions. Setbacks force you to stop and reevaluate your true goals. Which brings us to an incredible realization. I want you to think of yourself as the protagonist of a grand, epic story. You're at your lowest point right now, sure, but you're about to discover the secret weapon used by the greats who came before you. So think about it. What do the world's most successful people, the brilliant inventors, the A-list actors, the famous writers, the great leaders, what do they all have in common? Well, history proves that devastating no's are simply part of the journey to greatness. Take J.K. Rowling. She saw her beloved Harry Potter manuscript rejected by several publishers before it exploded into a global phenomenon. Or Thomas Edison. He reportedly failed thousands of times before successfully inventing the electric light bulb. Thousands. These aren't just, neat little trivia facts to make you feel better. They are absolute proof that rejection is not a sign to quit. It is a mandatory stepping stone. So what allowed people like Rowling and Edison to just keep going? It was this exact principle. People who tie their entire value to the opinions of others, they will always be shattered by rejection. But true confidence comes from understanding your identity, your strengths, and your purpose completely separate from external approval. I really want to remind you right now, a single rejection absolutely cannot erase your intelligence, your unique talents, or your boundless potential. There is no way you should let one no define you.
Building that kind of internal confidence is exactly what develops resilience. And resilience is simply the ability to recover from difficulties and keep moving forward despite challenges. Look, life is incredibly unpredictable, and setbacks are entirely unavoidable. But when you learn to handle rejection, you develop this deep emotional strength and an adaptability that prepares you for literally all future obstacles. This persistent resilience is exactly what separates ultimate long-term achievement from permanent failure.
But here's the thing, you absolutely do not have to build this resilience in a vacuum. In fact, isolation is super dangerous. It significantly increases feelings of sadness and hopelessness. You've got to lean on your essential support system. We're talking family members, trusted friends, mentors, or spiritual leaders. They can provide incredible perspective and reassurance when you feel totally hopeless. Often, these are the people who can clearly see the strengths and opportunities that you are completely blind to in your moment of pain. Let them remind you that you're not in this alone. And wow, that brings us right to the ultimate thesis of this entire explainer. When you do the work, when you process the pain, learn the lesson, build your resilience, and lean on your support system, you begin to see rejection for what it truly is: redirection. It is life's way of closing one door specifically because a better, far more suitable opportunity is waiting to open for you. Let's actually see how this plays out in real-life scenarios, because it builds on itself so perfectly. Think about the really painful setback of being rejected from a job you desperately wanted. It hurts, for sure, but what if it redirects you to finding a career that eventually offers far greater fulfillment and financial stability? Or consider a relationship ending. At the time, it feels like the absolute end of the world, right? But it's often the exact redirection required to eventually meet a partner who treats you with greater love and respect. What initially feels like a brutal setback frequently protects us from harm and inevitably leads to unexpected, vastly superior outcomes. So what are the final actions you actually need to take right now to step into that better future? First, maintain your faith and hope. You have to believe that there is a purpose behind this experience, even if you can't quite see it yet. Second, practice patience. I know, we all want immediate answers and overnight success, but some opportunities just take time to appear, and some lessons require patience to fully understand. And third, continue taking risks. The fear of rejection might tempt you to just hide away, but avoiding risks means avoiding growth. You simply have to keep trying. So the crucial point here is captured perfectly in this incredibly powerful quote from our source material. Sometimes the greatest blessings in life begin with the word no. Think about that. Rejection is not the end of your life, and it is certainly not the end of your success. By accepting the pain, learning the lessons, and keeping your faith, you literally transform that bitter rejection into an extraordinary opportunity. I want to leave you today with one final provocative question. Seriously, look at the exact setback you are facing right now. Stop asking why it happened to you and start looking at the horizon. Where is this no redirecting you? Because your next brilliant chapter is waiting to be written, and it starts with the very door that just closed. Embrace the redirection and keep moving forward. You've got this.